Hello and welcome, everybody. This is the 19th Hole Live. We are at Riviera Country Club in Los Angeles. I'm joined by Conor Coughlin. We are at In Between Media Production. Make sure you like the page, subscribe to the page, like the videos, jingle the bell for notifications. We want you to watch us. We're about that. So let's get going. This is the Genesis Invitational at Riviera Country Club. Let's go. Woo, I love that intro. Great job there. Conor, at Cough_DFS on Twitter. I am Bo_McBigTime. Check us out. Conor writes about golf. He does lots of research about golf, more research than I do. That's why he's here. Because if I get a little haywire thinking that I'm way smarter than all y'all, he's usually going to come back with evidence of the contrary, like what happened last week. We're gonna spin it back in a little bit, but Riviera is a classic tournament for the Hyundai or Genesis Invitational.
Yeah, you got to class it up, man. Class it up.
Well, this is Tiger Woods' event. This has been Tiger Woods Foundation for 20 years now. And so it's a really cool event. Tiger actually would do well here, which is amazing because everywhere else he seems to win everything. Just down the road, he wins everything at Torrey Pines. But when it comes to Riviera, he's never won the Hyundai for the Genesis here. He did win a major here. So he's won at Riviera, but not in this tournament. So it's pretty exciting, I think. Let's talk about the course first, I think, because I want to kind of set the stage because we're not going to spend too much time dwelling on last week. As co-host of the show, I'm going to make sure we go as quickly through that as we can.
We are going to spend a minute. We are going to spend a minute on that, though.
You should. You should get your little victory lap because you earned it. But pretty embarrassing on my end.
Oh yeah, I mean, and on the Tiger thing, like I just to put it out there, like super pumped that he's going to be in the field. I'm always excited that we get even one more time seeing Tiger play competitive golf.
You never know if it'll be the last time.
No, I mean, in a year removed from him,
right? Yeah, that could be. It could be it at any time.
Yeah, so I'm super pumped to watch him tee it up. I mean, I think unfortunately it's tough to say. I mean, I think Tiger's a little past his prime. I'd be very surprised if we see any kind of serious competitive golf.
It's all health related. I mean, he almost lost that right foot, so it's pretty impressive that he's able to do any competitive golf at this point. But it's just so special because we got to live through that huge era of the most dominant golf that's ever been played. And even just for a sprinkle more of that would be pretty cool. Like if he makes the cut, that's Sunday Red. We get to see one more time. And I don't know when the last time is going to be the last time we see Sunday Red from Tiger. That's what I'm worried about is that we might not have very many of those left.
No, I'm with you. So like I said, I'll take any chance to watch him one more time. So, but getting into the course, Riviera Country Club.
Havana.
So par 71, about 7,300 yards. It is actually, I believe, the first time this year that we see fairways and roughs that are Kakuya, which is a little tricky.
That's the thick blades of grass.
Not only is it thick blades of grass, but it's grass that doesn't like to stand up for you a whole lot. And
flat.
No, for sure. And I think that gets compounded if we get some moisture and stuff, which we'll have a little bit of moisture this week. Nothing crazy, but it is going to make that grass lay a little bit flat. Rough's going to play a little more thick than probably what's advertised. Pella greens again. We're kind of getting used to that vibe. So, one of the big things about this place is it's a true par 71. Got 3 par 5s. Really, none of them are really scoring holes, to be honest. I mean, which is a little different than the last few weeks. You've got a drivable par 4. You've got 11 other par 4s. They're all playing over, well, somewhere between 430, 450 and up. This is a course where I think, for the most part, you're going to see a score somewhere between, if I had to guess, 12 and 15 under, and that's if the weather cooperates. It's a very tough course. It's got some of the lowest greens and regulation percent of any tour stop. And
Runoff
that's
areas everywhere.
what's that?
There's runoff areas everywhere.
Yeah, runoff areas, they're strategically placed bunkers. This is very much an accuracy course. I have in big bold print in my show notes, like accuracy trumps distance and almost any other metric this week. I know there's some stuff that you looked at with 3-putt avoidance. And I know that was a big stat you were looking at. One of the big things I looked at, because these greens are so seldom hit, at least inconsistently hit, I looked at a lot of scrambling stats, a lot of around the green type stuff, just trying to dial that in. And then, we did allude to some of the moisture, but this is another course where if we do get some wind and some of those types of conditions and this place dries out a little bit, these greens get exponentially more difficult, and they're already incredibly difficult to hit, hold, and then execute putting on. So this course is no joke. This is probably the first course we're going to see a test of how well rounded some of these players are this year.
I think we got some.
I think it sets the stage for the rest of the season.
Yeah, you're right. Like other than Torrey Pines, there's really not any courses except for Riviera on this West Coast swing that put a top golfer under a lot of stress, because it's just missing the green here. Not only is it more common than at other courses, but missing the green here actually penalizes them more too, because all those runoff areas and hard pan, it'll roll you into a bunker. It'll roll you into a really low area where you're trying to chip straight up to a green that's going to roll back in your face if you're a little bit short. We see a lot of those guys that will hit a ball and it comes back to their feet because they're just in the wrong spot and they didn't hit a perfect shot from around the green. So you're right, scrambling around the green, and of course being able to make putts. That's going to be really hard on this course because of how sloped and incredibly fast they run. That's a recipe for disaster for guys that can't chip. So that kind of preludes to some of the guys we're going to avoid this week, for at least on my end. If you can't chip and you can't make consistent putts from inside 10 feet, then this course is going to make you miss the cut. And that's kind of worrisome for some of the top golfers that we both ran that might not be very good on this course just because of how it plays out, how difficult it is for certain types of golfers to play.
Yeah, and I mean, I go back to the point. I'm a little different than you on the putting side of things. Like,
that's what it's going to come down to, the difference. It's the edge for one of us.
And I think, I mean, I fully understand where you're coming from completely. And for anybody listening, like, I'd say you can either be in camp kind of no putt, which is where I am this week, and or more Bo's side, where putting is right up there with one of the most important stats. But I don't think it's going to be an in-between type of scenario. I don't think you're going to be able to have either average proximity or average putting this week. I think you're going to have to excel at one or both. Well,
when you told me that you were going to focus on around the green stats more, I ran my model with more of a weight on that end to your credit there, and it kind of shed light on why it's possible for a guy like Bubba Watson to win here 3 times, because he's not known for his putting as much as he is for his touch around the greens is excellent. And it's when his putter gets hot is when Bubba Watson won back in the day. And him winning here 3 times kind of told me to kind of look at this a little differently. So where I was a lot heavier on putting earlier in the week, you kind of shed me towards a 50-50 split on my end at this point, is where I'm dealing with, like, your driving stuff is important too here. But I wanted to give more emphasis to around the greens, because when I ran it another time, it gave me some new guys that I should have been looking at in the first place.
Yeah, and to that point, I think collectively, like it's a ball striker's paradise. We're looking for overall consistent off the tee gains and approach, and specifically like the two areas I looked at the most on the approach game are guys good from about 150 out to 200 is going to be your typical approach distances. So that's I looked at a lot of that, and then I looked at a lot of greens and regulation, and then I also looked at opportunities gained and the overall proximity stats, just to further emphasize that, like in my mind, to Bo's point he just made about Bubba Watson, I think that if we have somebody who's a superior ball striker who's putting the ball close this week, it can mitigate some of that putting, or if you got a guy that typically runs average putting and just gets kind of a hot hand even for a day or two, now all of a sudden you got a tournament winner. So that was the way I attacked it. But again, to hammer it home, like one of the big things that I put in bold print is accuracy over any other stat this week, and that's I'm really holding true to that. Doesn't matter what part of the course you're playing from, accuracy is king here.
Makes sense. Can't argue with that. Um, yeah, so let's kind of pause here because we do need to spin it back, and we do have an actual screenshot that proves that Connor was the superior DFS player last week at Phoenix. My goodness,
superior to you, maybe the rest of the field. I think.
yeah, it wasn't so kind. All right, let's spin it back. So yeah, you beat me pretty soundly. This you could pretty much tell from my lineup here that I didn't have a very good week when it came to picking the guys who are going to actually do something. I did get 5 out of 6 in this lineup, same as you, but your guys actually did pretty well on the weekend, and then because we were dead even until Sunday. And then when Sunday happened, it really separated because your guys had good Sundays and like Seamus Power there, 2 under par, Hayden Buckley, 3 under par on Sunday. My guys were going +1, even, +3. Like it was gross. I like just terrible lineup last week for me. So kudos to you. We won the Phoenix.
I'll be looking for my beer money. The
That's you right now here. Live Venmo in progress. Scottie Scheffler and Justin Thomas. We were both off of them, and because of recent form and because they just didn't match up at the course. Well, it turns out that Scottie's definitely matched up for this course because he's won it 2 years in a row. And JT found himself as a ball striker again, and he looked spectacular. I thought he looked the most impressive of everybody that wasn't Scottie Scheffler, who just absolutely torched the rest of the field.
So JT is kind of an odd one for me for last week because he did precisely what I said he was going to do day one and day two. Had that left miss.
And then he got hot.
And then he got hot, right? And so I love Justin Thomas. I'm a huge Justin Thomas fan. But like I don't regret not playing him just from the standpoint that it very easily could have continued for 2 more days. Like thankfully JT got his head about him and pulled it together. But when you look at types of golfers, I will continue to say the same thing about JT at a course that lines up to not favor a left miss. JT, I'm out just because he continues to prove that he has a very bad miss left and wound up out in the wilderness on more than one occasion last week. So
yeah, and he didn't score that many more points than my guy Sung J M. That was a guy that was on my list last week that I played very heavily. It paid off pretty well there. And those lineups where I did make a little bit of money back, it was because of Sung J M. Good. That was a good call on my part with the top 5 finish. But other than that, it was pretty disastrous for me.
The biggest issue I had last week with lineup construction is, and I wasn't that I was trying to be cute. It was that I was trying to get an edge on people by going Rory Rahm up top. And I did that in a lot of lineups. And, there were moments where I was like, okay, this is actually working. This is looking great. And then Rory just didn't do
Rory
it.
looked awful on the weekend. So did Tom Kim. He couldn't make a birdie. He couldn't make a birdie to save his life. He was close a lot of times. He couldn't make a putt, or he'd hit a perfect drive in the perfect spot, and then his iron shot would spray right. You're like, come on, Tom, just make a damn birdie. And he couldn't do it. He made one birdie on each of the days on the weekend, Saturday and Sunday, one birdie each. That's awful.
Yeah, well, day one and day two, it actually kind of looked like maybe we were a little bit right though about Tom
Yeah,
Kim. Like he
he
looked
played
at home,
great.
like
He was the
was
opposite of JT.
yeah, I mean, and was feeding into the crowd. If I'll tell you the one take I had last week that was spot on, and we should put a little star next to it for next year to remember. Colin Morikawa cannot play in
No,
that environment. Like he looked
no.
horrible, looked like he was
He
miserable.
was bad.
Cannot do it. So and
Silly me. Silly me. I thought a perfect ball striker with a left-right flight, like we discussed, would have a good time at that kind of course. And he just, like you said, he fell apart. He was not the same edgy guy as everybody else. Like Scottie went out there with swag, and he was making birdies from everywhere. And that you could tell that he was the kind of prototype where, like JT, where their talent just takes over, even if they're traditionally a right to left player. Scottie didn't care. He was just going after pins when everybody else was just trying to survive.
well, and Phoenix is a vibe, man, and that vibe is not for Colin Morikawa. Like,
No, the NorCal chill vibe. He crumbled. It's like I would love that environment, but that for me, it's like I've played under that sort of thing a lot.
oh, I'd
But
rather, dude, I'd
Morikawa
rather.
went to Cal. He's like, oh, bro, got my collar popped. Like I'm super cool. Everybody wants to hang out with me, but don't be yelling too much. We keep
Yeah,
it cool around here.
keep it hush, bud.
Right? Yeah, cool it, chill, man.
Yeah, nah, yeah, we'll just remember that. We'll store it away. Great
Yeah,
golfer. This is not his
that's up
scene.
here already because I'm pretty jilted about that performance, Colin. All right, let's move on to Riviera. I'm excited. I love the Genesis. It's such a good tournament, such a good vibe. The course is tough. I love tough courses because it gives you a measuring stick for even like the mid to late like ranking golfers. Is the ones that are for real. They come to light in these sorts of tournaments, and we'll cover those in our value picks. But let's do the club twirls because I'm excited for club twirls. Yeah, we're very thankful for everybody who's watching. This is the Genesis Invitational at Riviera. We're betting on it. I have some favorites. Obviously, John Rahm is here. He's going to be pretty seriously favored. Rory McIlroy, even after last week, kind of just looked blah. He does fit this course a lot better because his short game is incredible. The guys with the strongest short games are going to win this. And then, of course, guys that can hit fairways so that they don't have to scramble as often. That's going to be every hole that you don't have to scramble is going to be gaining strokes on the field. So, like you said, accuracy is king.
Yeah, and I was noticing
this just screams Xander Schauffele to me.
I do like Xander, and I was noticing in the chat, I think it was Seth was talking about a lot of hype on Bombers this week, and I couldn't be farther
about that.
I couldn't be farther.
It doesn't help. I mean, just because Bubba Watson won here doesn't make it a bomber-friendly course because everybody else here, it was like you're really accurate. Joaquin Neiman, super, super accurate. He won here last year. A lot of the past 5 champions, like 4 of them are in live right now. So it's a whole different vibe this year because a lot of those guys like Joaquin Neiman and Jason and Dustin Johnson are here because DJ won here. But it was like people don't give enough credit to DJ's short game because the reason he got to number 1 was through his short game, not just his ability to smash the golf ball.
Yeah, and if you look at some of the average driving stats for this tournament versus other tournaments on tour for the year round, this place actually plays average driving distance is about literally approaching 20 yards shorter than the average on most other courses.
Yep.
This is just not a course that pays to bomb and gouge. And we've watched people try and do it over the years, and
This it should tell you everything you need to know that Tiger hasn't won this event yet. Because bomb and gouge, that's Tiger's attack mode all the time, and especially when he was in his prime. And he went through all those prime years and didn't win this, so his style doesn't match up. It's the guys that can hit the ball far enough to get to the landing spots in out of danger that make you good on this course, and that's why we've seen great guys with distance, but they won it a different way. It wasn't because they took advantage of it. They had to play the course how it had to be played, and they just played it well enough.
for sure. And yeah, the reason I wanted to talk about that before we got into the odds at all was just to say that I think there is kind of that narrative floating around. There are quite a
Right.
few shows and publications and stuff that are,
Let them chase those bombers.
yeah, like that's I mean, if you're watching us, you know that we rarely have the exact same take as the rest of the world. So ride or die with us, but it's an accuracy game this week. It was my birthday, man. Come on.
So actually, the Korean lineup did pretty well. That was Sung J M, KH Lee made the cut and made a little bit of noise on the weekend. Siwoo made the cut, and he was kind of middle of the pack after the cut. So the Korean lineup was one of my better ones because they all made the cut. They just didn't push hard enough to win the tournament, because I think Sung Jae, even at sixth place, was 8 shots behind Scheffler. That's a huge gap.
Team Canada was the way to go last week, I think.
Wow, I couldn't believe it. Like even the push that what's his name had on Sunday, I was impressed. Like he didn't fold at all, and he was nobody. Nobody had him. Nobody had him.
Are you talking about Hadwin? Because I
No,
actually,
not Hadwin.
because
The
we
other one.
talked about
The one
Hadwin.
that was the runner-up.
Oh, God, why am I drawing a blank right this second?
Because nobody had him.
Yeah, well, that's why.
But he was the other Canadian, and he was 6,400 on DraftKings, and he was 0% owned. Nobody had him, and he ended up getting a runner-up and pushed Scheffler all the way through. Yeah, Nick Taylor.
Who's popping like crazy this week? All right. Anyways,
I don't know why. I'm not on Taylor.
Yeah. So you said Schauffele. Schauffele's what, plus 1,600, plus 1,800 in some spots.
Plus 1,600. And my model favorite's Cantlay. Like I just love how their games are playing right now and connected to this course in a positive way. Like you guys that are just straight as an arrow off the tee and into greens, and they can make big putts, and they have really good short games. Like I see those all around players really doing well this week, especially if the weather stays pretty neutral.
Yeah, and I can't poke any holes in Schauffele at all. I wish his number was a little better.
Yeah,
Like,
that is true. I mean, 1,600 I thought was pretty solid, but on the stiff side,
yeah, you just
Cantlay at
and
22 seems perfect.
yeah, Cantlay at 22 is probably where I would start. I'm not necessarily afraid of taking a couple of shots at Morikawa at
Oh, you're
plus
gonna play that.
2,000.
You're gonna ride that roller coaster again, huh?
Here's the thing that I hate about Morikawa every time that I do
Gonna
this.
drive me to drink. Because
Morikawa
I love
can't
Morikawa so much, and he's burned me so bad.
Morikawa
I'm
can't putt
drinking.
for shit.
No.
So going with my no putts needed this week. That's the only reason that I'm going to take a couple of shots at Morikawa. But I'm actually a big fan of your boy Sung J M right there at plus 3,000. And for all the reasons we've already talked about, Sung Jae just has this very consistent, very accurate, very composed game. And this is kind of the sweet spot for scoring for Sung Jae too. Like he's not the guy that's going to go out and shoot 25 under, but you definitely can get Sungjae competing in a tournament where you're,
He's a
like I
grinder.
said,
He's the
12,
ultimate
15.
grinder, especially from fairway to around the green and through the hole. He's as good as there is.
And
It's off the tee that kills him occasionally.
occasionally, yeah. And the thing about it though is that with distance being somewhat, in my opinion, mitigated here, I think Sungjae is pretty live. And the other thing too is Sungjae is exactly the type of guy that you and I kind of agreed on in the opening segment, in that he's not necessarily a lights out putter, but when that flat stick gets going, he heats up. Like, he's such a good proximity player that all we really need is Sungjae to putt average. And he's live to actually win this tournament. In my opinion, he's got the right skill set for it.
Nice.
Um,
Yeah, so I'm moving down a little bit to Sam Burns at 35. I thought that was a spectacular number, and I'll pair him with Jason Day at plus 4,000. 40-1 for Jason Day the way he's playing. That just seems like stealing.
Yeah, Jason Day, he keeps popping up.
That seems like a really good bet, like really good line to bet, because it just seems too light for the way he's playing.
Yeah, I think it is, but I think the thing with Jason Day right now, and it's the part of his game that if you'd asked me 2-3 years ago, what's Jason Day the best in the world at? Jason Day is the best with a wedge in his hand of anybody on the planet, and it has a very consistent putting stroke, kind of lights out from anywhere 25 feet and in.
Really,
Those two
he was
things are
making them
not,
everywhere last week.
but those two things are not the consistent pieces of Jason Day nowadays. Like, Jason Day seems to be much more accurate off the tee. His approach game has been good, which I think has been saving him. But when I've watched him have to scramble, it hasn't been pretty the last 2 weeks. And that worries me a little bit with Jason Day here. So,
All right. What do you think about Keegan Bradley? Because the way he's playing, it's like 20. Is it 2011 again? Did I wake up and it's 2011? Because Keegan Bradley drops 30 pounds in the offseason and comes out looking ultra focused, playing at his peak, and showing up on the top of leaderboards. He's on the way to winning somewhere this year. The way he's going now, I don't know how you can say it won't be this week, because he's perfectly good enough to do it if he's right.
Keegan Bradley is one of my favorite players this week, period.
60-1 for Keegan.
And it goes right back to the reason I was all over him a couple of weeks ago when we kind of nailed him with the runner up, is that, again, this is Keegan's, this is his sweet spot for scoring over the weekend. Like, this is exactly where you want Keegan. No, probably no more than 15, 17 under max. He's got that low ball flight if we do have any kind of weather. His accuracy has been on display. His putting has been decent. Like,
he's a wizard around the greens. That's what I love about him.
Yep. And not only is he a wizard around the greens, but he's also a good sand player for the most part. Like, there's just any scrambling metric you look at with Keegan Bradley, at least currently, he's looking really rock solid. And I think that plus 6,000 is a hell of a number on Keegan, because he just demonstrated 2 weeks ago in a similar kind of course fit setup that he was able to compete. So I like Keegan a ton this week.
Anybody else you like in that 60 to 100 range?
I'll take a couple of shots at Montgomery again.
Yeah. What's his number at?
Plus 7,000.
Oh, that's so nice, because the way I was running my models when it was putter heavy, my God, did he look good.
And he still looks good even with the approach and scrambling metrics and all that. And he's kind of had
but with putting heavy, he was like by far the best value. I think he popped up at like 13th in my model, and he's being bet as like the 21st or 22nd. I'm thinking, ooh, that's a nice edge. So I really do hope he plays well. This is kind of course where if he starts rolling in putts that nobody else is making, that's where he can really make some hay in this tournament, because you could totally see that happening. Because if he gets on a roll with the putter and he starts rolling them in from everywhere, then it's going to be tough to hang with a guy that can putt like that, because there isn't anybody that can putt like that.
No. And I think that I don't know. I think he's being disrespected because he's had a couple of off weeks. I mean, I think he should be a lot shorter than he is based on the skills that he has. So I like taking some shots there, and I will definitely play him in DFS. We won't beat that dead horse. We talk about Taylor Montgomery enough, but yeah,
Yeah,
I would recommend putting him in some rosters.
that seems smart. Anybody outside of 100-1?
To be honest, I don't think that you need to mess around down here too much. But if I were going to take a couple of shots, Hayden Buckley 200-1, I really like
You're
Hayden
such a
Buckley.
Hayden Buckley stan.
I can't help it. I mean, he continues to show up, continues to make cuts. I mean, continues to demonstrate a good, well-rounded game. So, I mean, I wouldn't bet your mortgage on it or anything, but I mean, if you want to throw a couple of bucks at it, I mean, I think that 200-1 is a pretty good number on a guy who has been able to compete and finish in the top 20, top 10 area. So
you know who I was really happy to see pop up in the top 5 of my model that's sitting at 350-1 and who has been a super unsung hero of mine this year. We've talked about him before. Seyoung Kim. SH Kim popped up as 4th in my model this week. And at those odds, I'm thinking put a couple bucks on SH Kim. And watch this guy just like Montgomery, just roll him in from all over the planet and gain like a 1.2 strokes per round on the field with putting. Like I could see SH Kim and Taylor Montgomery both being at the end. We're like, well, we thought John Rahm would be at the top here, but apparently it's just turned into a putting contest, and we know John Rahm doesn't like that.
You know what's funny about this, like 400, 500-1 and beyond? There's actually some guys down here that
Pretty good.
like
Even Tiger's 130-1, and I was like, geez, that sounds nice.
and there's some guys like Kisner is down here. Not that Kisner's done anything great
Happy
lately.
birthday, Kiz.
Happy birthday, Kiz.
If you ever see this, we're wishing you a happy birthday because we're a big fan of yours. We'd love to have you on.
That's 100% true, man. That guy would be a kick in the ass. But
I love
Kiz is down here at 400-1, which not saying again that he's done much lately, but the interesting thing about him is that he does everything that you would want from an accuracy standpoint, from a short game standpoint. And his putter, I mean, if there's anybody that can like putt with the likes of your Taylor Montgomerys, it's Kevin Kisner. Kevin Kisner can find a putter that literally, if he looks at the hole, the ball's going in. So,
yep.
So I wouldn't hate anybody for throwing $5-10 at it just in case it hits.
All right, I believe you. That's a good pick. Happy birthday, Kiz. Let's go to our DFS section. I was slamming trunks all weekend. I didn't like it. We're gonna get back on the winning train with no trunk slams.
The club is well. This would be a wrestling slam.
No trunk slams, our DFS section. DraftKings DFS pricing. We have our favorites. We've already discussed a couple of them that will translate to our DFS lineups. At the very top, you got John Rahm, Rory McIlroy.
You didn't even.
Oh, I actually have 2 bottles of Kirkland Signature bourbon. This one that I just popped open on the show was Kirkland Signature Bottled in Bond. It's made by Barton Master Distillers, and it's 100 proof. It's delicious. It comes in a 1 liter bottle for $26. 1 liter of bourbon for $26, and it's
bottle
quality.
Looks strikingly similar to another Barton Distilling product. Eagle Rare comes to mind.
Yeah, and it kind of does taste that same profile. I believe it's the same mash bill. So yeah, it's good, and that's a great value for a good juice. And then next to me, I have already opened this one because I love full-bodied bourbons here. This is the single barrel Barton from Kirkland Signature. It's $28 for the liter, and it's 120 proof. And it is, it's hot, but it's so good.
Yeah, all those Kirkland booze.
They know what they're doing. They got smart people picking the barrels on these.
Yes, they do. All of them. If our boy Seth is still hanging around, he's kind of a country guy. He might appreciate the Eric Church Jack Daniels single barrel. And this man, I've said it before.
Having a record year.
Eric fucking Church.
I love Eric Church.
I've said it before, and I'll say it again. I hate Jack Daniels. I hate regular Jack Daniels, black label, basic Jack.
Old number 7's terrible.
Not for me. However, any single barrel, any bottled and bond, any Jack Daniels that is like even slightly elevated is some of the best juice you can taste. And this doesn't disappoint.
Yeah, it's because they actually take care to not mass produce it, and that makes it so much better. The old number 7 is mass produced.
Yeah, I got buddies that drink that stuff like water, and I know that that's like a thing, but God, not for me. Ugh.
Yeah, I don't know. It's not for me either. So, top of the DFS board. I like all the guys, but I like some of them a little bit more that I'll be more exposed to. Let's pull that up. So I love the $9,000 range so much that I'm not going to get up to Rahm or Scheffler or McIlroy very often. I'm not going to bet again against Justin Thomas, but I'm not going to be that exposed to him. But we starting to get into these 9s. I love these 9s so much that most of my lineups are not going to have a $10,000 guy.
Well, I'll talk about the 10s then, because you know that I like to live dangerously and play some people in the 10s, and play some stuff.
I see Rory there at 10-5, and I know you're goo gaga over Rory this week.
Yeah, I mean, why would you not? No, why would you not? Last week, I think was kind of what I foreshadowed a little bit talking about Rory, like.
His second tee shot snap hooked into the water, just like you said would.
Yeah, and you and I both like messaged each other right away, and I'm like, "Yup."
There it was. If you watch the show, you'll be like, "Conor just said that would happen."
Yeah, I'm like a real Nostradamus over here.
Idiot savant over here.
Freaking, but I will say this: Rory's approach game, Rory's driving accuracy. I think one of the only people on tour that's really holding a candle to him in terms of accuracy off the tee is going to be Morikawa, who I already mentioned. I also like. So I'll have some McIlroy. It's hard to ignore what Scott Scheffler just did.
Jeez. When he gets on, man, it is over. He doesn't care who's there. If he's hot like he was at Phoenix, my God, is he good.
And I mean, he was world number 1, is world number 1 for a reason. But I think of the 10Ks, like I saw something with Justin Thomas that last couple of days, and
he looked sharp, man.
He just had the killer instinct in him, and he looked primed. So
when he's making putts, that field is on notice.
And I like a lot of the approach game with Justin Thomas. Always do. I mean, a year ago we were talking about Justin Thomas arguably being the best approach player in the world, and I think that over the last few weeks you start to see that round back into form. So I do like Justin Thomas a lot this week, and even on tough conditions, on tough courses, Justin Thomas can go out and shoot 5-6 under in a single day, and he proves it time and again. So I probably will, to be honest, in that 10K range, Justin Thomas probably will be my heaviest play. And I am with you, Bo, though. I don't want to spend a ton of my lineup capital in that 10K, because I think it's pretty easy to build really satisfying, like, balanced lineups this week. And I'm going to try not to.
The one I screenshot to you was 3. I got 3 guys in the 9s in the same lineup. And that's huge in golf, is you can get 3 guys that could potentially win the tournament, have decent odds to win the tournament in your lineup. And then the other 3 guys make the cut, and you're sitting really pretty if those guys hit.
That lineup I sent you, which we're not going to air out on.
It was very top heavy, but it
is nice looking.
Yeah.
So yeah, we can get into the nines because to be real about it, like I think that's where the nines, maybe some upper eights, low nines, you can get 3-4 guys in pretty easy. You don't have to do anything goofy down at the bottom. So that's probably where I would spend most of my time.
Yeah, this Max Homa is playing out of his mind still, and he loves it here. It's hard to ignore a guy like that can, even if he's just a top 10 finisher this week, he's going to score a ton of fantasy points. And I love that about Max Homa as well. He's like, oh, I don't love him to win here, even though he could, but think of the points just by being a top 10 player at this tournament. He's going to be top 10 finish, but top 3 in scoring. That's kind of what we get from Max Homa. So I think he should have been over 10 for this tournament, but he's not. And so I'll be on him for that value.
It pains me. Love Max Homa, but I don't think
you're going to disagree with Max Homa. I hate you.
I just don't think Max Homa is making my rosters this week. And the reason is that
my heart.
I like Morikawa and I like Sungjae too much. And then I have to do what I say to do every single week and trust my numbers. And Tony Finau, no matter what way I ran my model, no matter
so
how
weird because you watch him play and you're like, how is this guy in contention? He doesn't make anything.
No, and the last time I ran the model, the one I settled on is the last 36 rounds. And like you look at his stats, I mean, he's number 3 in the field in ball striking. He's number 7 for good drives gained. Number 5 for greens and regulation.
Such a good ball striker. God, from tee to green, he is spectacular.
Top 20 in scrambling. Number 4 in bogey avoidance, which kind of blew my mind a little bit. Number 7 in proximity and opportunities gained. And then he's number 12 in 3-putt avoidance, which it just...
We're talking about the guy that we watched not make any putts for 2 tournaments in a row, and he's not 3-putting. He's just 2-putting for bogey or double bogey. And
yeah, it's wild. It's wild because your eyes are going to tell you that Finau's kind of slumping, but then you start to look at the analytics. And so those are probably my 3 in the nines. And especially, like I said, Sungjae Im is somebody that I like to easily top 5, if not try and win this thing. So
yeah, he's another guy that scores a lot of fantasy points. That's nice. I like Sam Burns a lot here because he's an all-around type player. And then I'm going to skip no thank you on the Victor Hovland this week. This course is going to eat him alive.
What's up with everybody putting love on Victor Hovland? Like, he's not a good...
He played really well last week, but it wasn't like that course was perfect for him. But going from Phoenix to Riviera with that same skill set, it just doesn't match up. I'll be shocked if Hovland's in contention this week.
I like big things coming for Victor Hovland this year. Like
but not this week.
This would not be my week for him. Yeah, he's not generally not like a real consistently close approach shot guy. He's gotten better around the green, but he's still not great.
He's not Riviera worthy chipping wise.
No, I'm going to be a pass on Hovland too, but I see a lot of heat around the industry on Hovland. It's kind of like So
is Cam Young playing well enough right now to justify rolling it back for him because he was runner-up last year here? He's not playing well right now, but he looked really good here last year.
He's one of like 5 guys that I will just blindly play every single week. Like I love Cam Young.
Because he's so much fun to watch. He scores a ton of points, but God, lately he's just been off.
And I agree with you.
I don't like playing guys that are off right now, especially going into this kind of place. But we could be wrong. We said the same thing about JT and Scheffler last week. So, and we ignored their past performance at the place because of how they're playing recently. And it turned into like, oh, we come here to get right. And that was what happened.
And get right they did. No, Cam Young I'll have some sprinkles of, but like this is probably, I would say last year was maybe more of a one-off. I don't know that this is a course that over the course of his career we're going to see him do consistently well at. Like his skill set lends itself better to somewhere that does favor more of a bomber archetype. And in my opinion, that is not this place. That's contrary to some other folks around the industry, but that's
We're
not,
going to see,
what I
guys.
think.
We are going to find out who was right, and we're going to bookmark it. We're going to victory lap because we're going to win.
So if I'm not here next week, you'll know it's because Bombers rose to the top.
he just decided to take some time off. He's a little frustrated that this happened. But can you trust Will Zalatoris on this course?
Because
I know you love the guy, but the way he's been putting lately is the ugliest thing I've ever seen.
I love Will Zalatoris the way I used to love watching Bubba Watson. Like, I like watching Will Zalatoris. I like watching Bubba Watson. I rarely play either of them because Zalatoris,
it's so crazy with him.
He's just not consistent. He's got this back thing. He's trying to figure out his swing and trying to like learn how to swing around the back issue. I just think this is overall a down season for
Gives
Zalatoris.
Me indigestion.
Yeah, if you want to play somebody who has some upside and is actually looking like they're on the mend and improving consistently week on week, play Ricky Fowler. Like if you want a guy working on his swing that looks like he's about to find it in a big way, Ricky Fowler's your dude.
Yeah, I agree with that because he's looked really good. He looks really good. Like he and Jason Day are kind of my favorite guys that have just all of a sudden clicked and look right. Him and Keegan, like guys that were good, amazing, like world-class top 5 in the world players just 5-10 years ago. And they're starting to find a new like career cycle. Like there's a new era of their career that's tapping off with this recent form that they're showing. And I like to play those guys in DFS because they can stay hot at a place like this.
And these are world-class golfers. And I think for the guys you just named off, I think somebody finally like got through to them and said, hey, you don't have to hit the ball 360 yards to compete. You didn't have to do that 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 years ago when you were in your prime. Just go out, strike the ball well, be consistent, play intelligently, and you can still compete. And I think you're starting to see that with these guys where now that they're focused on being consistent ball strikers and less about trying to keep up with the speed and distance game, I think you're starting to see these guys make a substantial comeback. So,
yeah, and you mentioned Fowler at 7,900. That's a good price for him. So especially with his recent form, there's guys like Siwoo Kim are playing great this year. Wyndham Clark is on a roll this year. Well, who saw that coming? Wyndham Clark happened this year, and he's still happening at 7,800. And then my favorite this week, value wise, is Keegan Bradley at 7,700. That's too cheap for a guy that's red hot right now.
Yeah, I mean, no argument on Keegan. Wyndham Clark, I did call out a couple of weeks ago when he actually did fine.
He was good. He's been good lately, last month or so.
The issue with Wyndham Clark, and I'll play some Wyndham Clark because you're right, he is playing quite well. But the biggest
issue, a bomber.
He's a bomber. He does have
he's a bomber
for getting a little wild off the tee.
Yeah.
And the other thing with Wyndham Clark,
like Bubba though, he's just like Bubba.
Yeah, but the thing that Bubba's consistently good at, Wyndham Clark is not, is putting and around the greens. Like Wyndham Clark, even though he's
very underrated
right now,
short
still
game,
not that great.
By the way, guys,
what's that?
That's why Bubba's won here 3 times, is because Bubba's short game is so much better than people give him credit for.
I agree. In those 7s, I will play Siwoo Kim.
Monty.
Yeah, we'll have some Monty. The two that I really like in here are Brian Harman and Russell Henley.
You always love Harman.
Yeah, but I love Harman. I love Harman for a lot of the reasons I like.
Less often than you do, but every once in a while I just want some lefty because I'm a lefty and I like rooting for my guys. But
you like Harman for the same reasons that you like somebody like Kisner.
He's just a straight shooter, good putter.
Yeah, just a consistent guy. Like, I'm not going to play Brian Harman in a birdie fest, but I'll play Brian Harman at a tournament where accuracy is important. Putting is.
He's so cheap too. That's such a good price for him.
Yeah, and like his accuracy and approach game alone, and knowing that in my opinion, the end score is going to be somewhere 12-15 under. That's Brian Harman. Like, he's not going to go out and shoot 25, but
And the sevens are loaded this week. I love it.
So yeah, Brian Harman, Russell Henley for all the reasons we've talked about multiple weeks on end with Russell
Accuracy.
Henley. And then Adam Hadwin is somebody I would take a look at.
Still hot. Hadwin's hot.
And he's another guy, kind of a short knocker, good accuracy game, decent around the green game. So
where did Nick Taylor come from?
So yeah, Nick Taylor rates out okay. But
where did he come from last week? Nobody had him. Like, there was not a soul alive. He had 0% ownership in DFS. And this dude looked amazing in a runner-up finish. Outdueled Rahm in the weekend.
Yeah, I think Nick Taylor is somebody, though, that over the course of the last couple 2-3 years, like, he does pop up from time to time. He's just one of those guys that got hot at the right time. And I do like aspects of his game for here as well. Like, he is pretty accurate off the tee. He is pretty accurate with approach. But it's maybe the around the green game and the scrambling part that I like the most about Nick Taylor down there. Is, he's in the top 20 for around the green and scrambling, which is, again, I think gonna be a pretty important stat this week. So maybe a little more so than the other guys I named in the sevens. Nick Taylor rates out pretty well in those metrics, so he's maybe somebody to take a look at again.
Yeah. Guy popping up in my model is also averaging 82.6 fantasy points a week. He's made 7 out of 8 cuts and finished in the top 10 twice. The Panda, KH Lee, like, the dude's ball striking it like no other out there, especially nobody's talking about the Panda this year. He's a lot like my other guy that's even cheaper from the same home country of South Korea. Like, this, it doesn't make any sense why the Panda is staying so low when he's every week he's doing something. And I think he's playing better right now than Russell Henley. I like Henley, but I like Panda more. And then, of course, Tiger's here at 73. And I'm kind of off Tiger, but I'm just like you, where I'm going to throw some Tiger lineups in there just for the feeling of it. Hopefully he makes the weekend so we can see the Sunday red. That's all I'm saying.
That's all I want. But will it to happen?
Oh, please.
No, KH Lee, dude, and I love the Panda too. Like, I usually leave him for you because I know you got, he's like your top 5.
I appreciate that. I just love the Panda. He always comes through for us at a really good price. We really appreciate you, KH Lee.
He's like 7-Eleven nachos, good price. And when they're
always
good, when they're good, they're good.
Oh yeah.
When they're bad, they're real bad.
The Panda would likes the 7-Eleven nachos.
So yeah, right in there too. Brendan Steele is another guy. I
can't do it. I can't do Brendan Steele.
I normally can't either. Not a sexy pick. However, he rates out number 2 in this field for overall ball striking. I don't know how.
It says Brendan Steele's out.
Really?
Yep, he withdrew.
Perfect.
Thank you.
Because he rated out too good to ignore, so I'm glad that
7,100. Bye. See you later. I was already off him, so thanks for saving me from myself, Brendan. I appreciate you there.
So then I'll just go right into Hayden Buckley at 7 flat.
God, I want Stallings, and that's pretty much it for me in that range because I like guys that are even a little cheaper.
Yeah, I mean, the sevens, I think there's some guys in here that have
Buckley 7 flat. That's so cheap.
Rates out 19th my model. Like, I'm going to keep rolling with him. He hasn't done me wrong.
He's playing great. 78 fantasy points a week in a sea of 68s. That's pretty good. He's up there with Joel Damon in scoring for DFS.
Joel Damon can't putt and has no around the green game, so I'm out on old bucket hat this week.
That's what I was thinking. Sam Ryder's only 67 the way he's playing.
Yeah, but Sam Ryder is more of a bomber too. Like, this doesn't feel like the right fit. Although I will say, I was impressed with Sam Ryder. Like, over the last few weeks, like he looks pretty good. So I think there's going to be some Sam Ryder and some rosters here in the near future, but not this week.
Is this the Bez course? Are we Bezing it this week?
I'll have a little Bez. I'm gonna probably be heavy Grayson Sig and David Lipsky if I'm below 7.
Lipsky.
But Lipsky has an excellent scrambling game, like really excellent. And he's 31st in ball striking, 21st in good drives gained. He's 20th in proximity and opportunities gained. And then, like I said, he's in the top 10 for almost every single scrambling and around the green metric. So David Lipsky at 6,500 rates out 16th overall in my model. Like, that's a pretty good value based on the numbers I'm looking at.
Yeah, and birthday boy Kevin Kisner is there at 66. I like him a little bit. Make the cut at least. And so that's what you're looking for in a sub 7 guy anyway. It's just make the cut and score points for 2 more rounds, and that'll do, pig. That'll do.
Yeah. Well, in like I said, Kisner is one of those that's just live to like show up and have
18 beers on 18 holes and have himself a jolly good time, cracking jokes, shooting 69. Nice.
Yeah, and then go kill some animals on Monday. Like, that's just like Kisner is just one of those that will either finish literal DFL or can go out and win the tournament. So,
and he's gonna have fun either way.
Yeah, I had that quote with him, man. Why do you show up if you can't win? Because they pay a lot of money for a top 20.
Yep, he's honest.
Yeah,
all right.
I don't have a ton down there, and to be honest, I mean, I know we're late. I know we're late, and the lock is in the morning, so probably not a ton of people will see this. But my advice to anybody that does see it tonight is, I would go a balanced approach this week. I would really try to avoid dipping below 7. Yeah. I don't think you need to, and I don't think the top end of the
7s are strong. So if you can throw in a lot of the high 8s to low 9s, you can do the low 8s and high 7s, and then a bracket with like a low 7 thrown in to fill it in, like we mentioned earlier with some of these guys at the low 7s. It's. I think you're right, Connor. I think the balanced approach is the way to go.
Yeah, I think the top end of this tournament in particular is a lot of guys that have a lot of distance and accuracy, but I think it's some of these shorter hitters that are going to kind of rise to the top, and that's what's living kind of in this middle section.
The marksmen are out there. The archers.
Play Adrian.
That's why I like playing. Yeah, I like playing the archers on archer courses. Like, I can't wait for the players. The players is going to be so nice because we're going to be picking and choosing our accurate dink and dunk players to win. Like Cam Smith last year, I was like, oh, I love Cam Smith this week. This guy's he hits it exactly where he wants to every single time. And that's exactly what you need at Sawgrass. And lo and behold, Cam Smith just ran away with it. And that was one of our highlight moments of last season, was picking the right golfer for the right course.
Yep, and that's I think that's one thing we continue to do well, and we don't always necessarily buy into the narrative of the rest of the industry. Like, we kind of
no, because a lot of the time we're dead right and they're dead wrong, and then they come back with the tail between their legs like we did last week, and it happens more often to them than us. So I think we're doing fine.
Yeah, just write it down. Do not tail me at the waste management. Just do not. I don't ever get it right. I haven't ever gotten it right.
I did it well last year, so I got a little cocky, and then I did shitty this year. So that's the game. It's a volatile game.
I don't get waste management right. I may take the waste management off next year.
You're trash at the trash can tournament.
I am trash at the trash. God. Truth.
All right. Thank you for joining us, everyone. This is In Between Media production of the 19th hole live. Good luck at the Genesis Invitational at Riviera this week, and get to cashing. Oh, yeah. Shoot. Stupid bow.
Almost
right there.
Almost
made it. I never get it exactly right.